Hey everybody, thanks for watching A Guy Doing Stuff. I'm Adam, and today I'm going to be radiusing the sides and installing the kerfing. My sides are now attached together by these blocks that I glued right here and right here. I didn't know this before I built my first guitar, but the back and front of the guitar aren't flat. They both bulge outward slightly. This makes the box of the guitar a little bit stronger, and I think it makes it sound better too. I don't know the physics behind all that, but I do know how to make it happen. So in this video, I'm going to show the process for radiusing the sides. I have everything centered and braced tight in this jig before I start radiusing. The heel block, which is right here, is about 3 inches tall, and the end block right here is about 4 inches tall. They're both slightly over what I want them to end up being, so I'm going to use them as reference points and work the sides down to them. There's a lot of extra side material that you're going to have to work down. I'm going to chisel the sides down to the blocks here first. I wouldn't even attempt this without super sharp chisels, and as I've said before, the best way to sharpen your tools is with this Work Sharp 3000 tool sharpener. This is actually really satisfying and easy near the blocks if your chisel is sharp. After the material at the blocks is taken down, I use a planer to get the rest of the sides down about a 1/2 inch. Be really careful here, you don't go too far though. I'm gonna get the final width with a sanding dish, so anything you don't do with a planer, you can do with a dish, it just takes a little bit longer. Okay, I feel like I'm probably close enough on this to move on to the sanding dish now. This is the sanding dish. I use a 40-foot radius for the back and the soundboard. A lot of guitars are made with a different radius on the front and the back, but I didn't want to buy 2 dishes, so I'm gonna go ahead and just use this one for both. I chalk the edges up before I start so I can see what areas are getting sanded first. Then I pick the whole jig up like this with the sides clamped in really secure, and I get it on the sanding dish like this and just kind of shuffle it back and forth. I'm not putting any downward pressure at all while I'm doing this. I just kind of do this shimmy move and let the rotation take the material off. You really want to be careful and stop and recheck your progress a lot during this. I probably could have gotten away with getting closer to the final shape with the hand planer, but I didn't want to accidentally go too far down because there's no going back if you take too much material off. I've taken it down quite a bit right here, 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 and here, but I haven't even touched right here or the blocks yet. It looks like I have quite a bit more to go on the heel block than the end block. So when I go back to the jig, I'm going to be intentional about putting slightly more pressure on the upper bout side than the lower bout side. I also measure up from the jig too to make sure everything's symmetrical and even. I keep on going like this till the entire surface of both blocks are radiused on the dish. Then I repeat that same process on the other side. Okay, I got both sides radiused to 40 feet and both my blocks are at the right height now. I was just rewatching some of that footage from last night, and I feel like I probably could have done a little better job explaining some of that process. One way to think about it is if you imagine a gigantic ball that's 80 feet across, the outside of that ball is going to match the curvature of the dish, so when you rub the sides on the dish, they'll end up with the same curve as your big imaginary ball. That concept really took me a while to fully understand. And I feel like I also make it look easier than it actually is. I spend a lot of time doing this sanding dish thing, and I jump back and forth with the hand planer a lot to make sure I'm taking off even amounts, and I take tons of measurements constantly throughout that whole process just to make sure I'm getting everything just right. Before I attach the kerfing, I want to sand the inside of both sides to 220 grit. I glued sandpaper to this PVC pipe, and it's pretty easy to get the curves of the sides just by rubbing them with this thing. For my kerfing, I'm using strips of mahogany that are sliced at every 1/4 inch so they're super flexible. When I glue them to the sides, it adds some structural stability, and it also gives me some surface area to glue the soundboard and back onto. I just use clothespins with rubber bands wrapped around them to glue the kerfing on. I do a dry run so I know I have the right amount of kerfing and clothespins. Then I put a little bit of glue on them and clamp them on just a tiny bit proud of the side, because I'll be radiusing them too on the sanding dish after they're glued on. I glue one side, let it dry for a couple hours, then flip it and do the other side. Then I take it back to the sanding dish and take the kerfing down flush with the edges of the sides. I'm gonna show how I put the side bracing on really quick too. I cut these little sticks out of mahogany. They're 5/16 wide and 3/16 thick. I ran the top of each of them over on this piece of granite that I glued sandpaper to so they look nice. Then I hold it up to the spot that I'm gonna glue it down to find my length, cut it, and sand a bevel on the last 1/2 inch of each end so the ends of them are just under an 1/8 inch thick. Now I take it back to my sides, and as you can see, I can wedge them in here so each end is butted up to the kerfing. I add just a little bit of glue and clamp down each end, and I put 5 braces on each side. That is all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you to Work Sharp Tools for sponsoring this series. I know that was a lot of information, so I'm gonna leave some links to some other resources in my video description if you guys wanna read up on more about that. Feel free to leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section for the video, and don't forget to hit subscribe.